Hi, good morning. This is Dana Didoff, and I'm in my office on the Columbia River here in Astoria, Oregon, and it is a Monday morning. I've been thinking about the dreams of addiction again, and specifically mutual dreams of addiction, and that is codependence and the connection with the addicted person or persons in a family. Interestingly, my husband told me I'd better find a way to keep these videos from shaking or I'd lose half my audience. At least I'd lose him. So he may be half my audience. But anyway, this is a better effort today in that regard. And so I hope it improves the chances of more people than my husband looking at these. Anyway, I've been thinking about codependence and what an amazing map it has been for many people to help them understand where they are in the journey in a family or with other family members. And like all maps, it maps sort of the outside aspect, which can be very, very helpful, because before, a lot of the descriptions about what happened to families and people in the experience of addiction, people were even more lost. And so these are very complicated journeys over complicated terrain, and there are many, many levels of them. I think sometimes that understanding a deeper level of the map or another map can reduce other kinds of unnecessary suffering. The kind of suffering that actually increases the intensity of the dream of addiction. Specifically, the kind of suffering associated with regret or self-blame, which are really fed by a misunderstanding of how complicated the situation is. From the codependence point of view, the addicted person is making a choice. And from the addicted person's point of view, or other people's point of view, the codependent person, or the person who is in the mutual dream, seems to be doing whatever they're doing on purpose, and often told that they're making the situation worse. I've been thinking about that because it doesn't seem to really help people to tell them that the thing over which they feel completely helpless and keep trying to solve is something that they're causing or making worse. And yet if you tell people, well, you didn't cause it, or you're not doing this on purpose, that makes people crazy and doesn't quite fit either. So I think that there are ways to take a look at what really happens to people that are impersonal. They're experienced personally, but they're impersonal in the sense that death is impersonal. It happens to everyone. Birth is impersonal. Breathing is impersonal, although your experience of it is personal and becomes intensely personal if you're about to lose it. But lots of things in life are impersonal. The mechanics of one's body, in a sense, are impersonal, in the sense that we, in this culture specifically, take so many things personally. And by that I mean personally as if we're causing them or somehow can control them. And the idea that you can control something that is impersonal or uncontrollable really intensifies the experience of being out of control. And so one of the reasons I'm talking about this is to reduce parts of the dreams, be able to peel off part of the dream, to see a deeper map so that one knows where one is and can, if you want to, get out of that particular experience, or at least find some help for doing that. It's sort of a first stage. So one of the issues in codependence is that codependent people are as caught in a dream as the addicted person. And that dream runs through their bodies and brains, trapping their mind and their body as tightly as the addicted person. What I'm not saying is the addicted person is doing this to them, or that they're doing anything to the addicted person, although the implications are that when one looks at other people, it can seem like that. What I'm saying is that there's something more going on here, so that both people have the experience of being profoundly trapped in something they can't actually control. knowing that is extremely helpful. And there are very basic reasons for that, specifically with codependence, because human beings at a very, very deep pre-verbal level have a profound need for what's called resonance. I spoke about that in my last video, and attunement. Resonance is being on the same vibrational tone, you know? It's like being in a band and playing on key, or talking to somebody and being understood. Sometimes if you're profoundly attuned or resonant with another person, you don't really even need to talk. You just get what each other means. Well, this is pre-verbal because little tiny babies, and all of us have been little tiny babies, have a profound need to be attuned to their mother, so that the mother knows what the baby wants and can comfort it. There are all sorts of ways this gets disrupted for both the mother and the baby, and this causes profound pain. So at a very, very deep level, human beings, especially human beings who have the experience of being in a family or love each other, have a very deep need to be attuned. And addiction itself, not the addicted person, but the whole experience and dream of addiction, tends to disrupt attunement and resonance. And that makes both people desperate. It makes the codependent person desperate to restore attunement, and they're not always aware of that. It's like they're held by some deep body part of theirs that wants to connect with someone they love. And the addicted person often feels controlled and desperate because they're caught in something that they can't get out of, and they can't do just what the codependent person wants them to. And so each person ends up intensifying the other person's experience. The codependent person, without meaning to, that as that person's dream deepens and they try more and more desperately to reach the person that they love and with whom they're out of attunement and resonance, then the addicted person can feel more and more controlled, and that increases the depth of their dream of addiction. It does not mean that the codependent person, either by enabling or not enabling or anything like that, is really causing the addiction. But what it does mean is that when people are in a mutual dream with each other, or in a conflicted mutual dream, that is, one person is trying for attunement and the other person is trying to get out of something else and therefore separate, the more desperate that becomes, the more both dreams intensify. Which makes sense of why things like the 12-step program really work when people understand them, because the one thing that really happens for addicts and alcoholics is that experience of accepting the fact that whatever's happening to them, they're as codependent as a fisherman caught in a net and being pulled underwater, or a fish. And also, the codependent person is every bit as out of control as that. But in our culture, out of control is pejorative. It means that they're doing something wrong, that they just need to get over it and find a way to have more control. But that's not really true. What they really can understand sometimes is that they are as helpless as the person that they're trying to save. And if they know that and accept that, sometimes when you're caught in a net, just giving up allows that net to loosen and you find a way to get out. The problem is, though, this net is on the inside of people. It's inside the body, mind, and brain of the addict. It's also inside the deep body and brain and mind and bones and skin and underneath everything in the deep, deep emotional memory of the infant. And when that cinches up, when that net gets tight, it's very, very hard to get loose. Which is why sometimes people get loose when they just can't try anymore, or they can't hold on anymore. And that's why sometimes detachment works. The problem is, detachment isn't a concept. It's usually a desperate move that you're doing the very, very hardest thing. The thing that will feel like a betrayal to the codependent and death to the addict. But that's sometimes where the dream stops and where people start to wake up. But people can't just wake up because other people tell them to. Anyway, I hope you give yourself a break in whichever part of this you might be caught in. Have a good day. Be back. Bye-bye.